Ok, buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti a questa nuova sessione di webinar denominata Formulation with Multifunctional. Sarà la seconda sessione di questa serie di webinar dedicati ad ingredienti ad azione conservante, multifunzionali e sostenibili realizzati in collaborazione con il nostro partner Symrise. Abbiamo qui infatti con noi Alessandro Croci e Bern Heinken, che vi presenteranno nuove ed efficaci strategie formulative attraverso un approccio multifunzionale, con esempi formulativi applicativi e challenge test. Vi lascio alcune informazioni utili per questa sessione. Se avete domande sono le benvenute, potete scriverle in italiano nell'apposita sezione della piattaforma, la chat box che trovate in alto, e verranno poi approfondite al termine della sessione. Il webinar inoltre sarà registrato e nel corso della giornata di domani riceverete una mail con la presentazione mostrata oggi e il link per poter rivedere la registrazione. Grazie a tutti e passo la parola ad Alessandro.
Grazie Simona, buongiorno, grazie a tutti i partecipanti per essere qui. Ringrazio chi è già la seconda volta che ci vede. Per chi non era presente alla prima puntata, io sono Alessandro Croci, direttore della divisione direttore vendita della divisione Cosmetic Ingredients di Symrise Italia, e con me c'è il mio collega Bernard Henken, direttore tecnico della divisione Micro Protection e super esperto dei sistemi conservanti e conservanti alternativi. Quindi vi auguro un'interessante presentazione e mi raccomando, se avete delle domande non esitate a farle perché siamo qui per rispondere a queste. Bert, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good morning to everyone. My name is Bernd. As Alessandro introduced, I'm the technical director for microprotection in EMI. I'm in charge of all technical requests, technical information around the category of microprotection. I'm 6 years in Symrise, and before that I was working more than 20 years in a company that is doing disinfectants and preservatives in Germany. And whenever you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box. You can also, of course, use Italian language for asking questions. My colleagues will translate for me. I'm very sorry, my Italian is very poor, so I prefer English. So this is the agenda for the 3 sessions that we actually organized. And in the first session, we already got some trends, overviews of protection portfolios, preservatives, and multifunctionals. I was introducing about the greenification of the portfolio and also introducing some recent product launches. So that was the first part. And today we are talking about, in the second part, formulating with multifunctionals. So here I'd like to show some tips and tricks. I would like to show some formulation examples and also challenge test results when using multifunctionals. Maybe this is what some of you have seen before. This is the overview of multifunctional ingredients that we are using besides primary uses, also for the protection of cosmetic formulations. You see on the left the brand names, then you see the INCI listed. And from the INCI, from the top, you see there are alkandiols, 1,2 alkandiols, starting with a C5 chain length alkandiol. And then we also have some combinations like Simdiol, and we have other ingredients, multifunctional ingredients like the SimSafe that I will explain to you a bit more in detail, showing examples today in the next, let's say, half an hour or 45 minutes. Again, this is also what we call the toolbox. So what we are doing, we are combining these ingredients in order to make them useful, to provide a lot of multifunctionality into your formulations, but also to use combinations to protect from microbiological contaminations. So for example, very common is to use some of the hydrolytes that you see on the first rows, and then using SimSafe H, for example, or Hydrolex E, ethylhexylglycerine. And with these combinations, you can protect your formulas. Now, looking into impacts and efficacy, so antimicrobial activity can also is related and can be described by the chain lengths of alkandiols. So here you see a few examples of the hydrolytes, the alkandiols, and from the left to the right, it's an increasing chain length. And when you look into minimum inhibition concentrations, which are indicated in this column, especially the last ones, which are used in a microbiological challenge test, you see that with an increasing chain length, you have a decrease in the MIC values. By means, the longer the chain length, the higher the antimicrobial efficacy. Normally, that would mean we only use long chain length alkandiols, and we are happy with a high efficacy. However, we have another challenge when it comes to formulations, that the water solubility is decreasing with the increase of the chain length. So the longer the chain length, the lower the water solubility. And this is where we need to find the most optimum alkandiol for the individual formulation. So there's no one for all solution. And I will show you some examples how to use the most suitable alkandiol or multifunctional ingredient. The first question sometimes comes up when we have alkandiols. What about impacts on the stability of emulsions? And over the time, when using diols, we learned that the longer the chain length of the alkandiols, the higher is a potential risk of having some instabilities. And this is the reason, or the reason is that especially the longer chain length alkandiols, they act like surfactants. So they can have an impact on higher dosages. How to avoid such instabilities if they occur? So first of all, it's dose depending. So if you use, for example, let's say 5% of pentylene glycol, this should not have an impact on the stability of an emulsion. But if you use 5% of the caprylyl glycol, the octanediol, the C8 chain length alkandiol, at 5%, you would certainly get some trouble, some problems. So this is why we recommend not to use, for example, of caprylyl glycol more than 0.5%. Now here you see some examples. We recommend always to include alkandiols into the water phase. So depending on its water solubility and the concentration, they can be used already in the water phase. And this is exactly where they need to be, because there we have contaminations, there we have growth of microorganisms. In any case, if there are any instabilities in the emulsions, we recommend to modify the stability with stabilizers like cetyl alcohol or a carbomer. We also recommend maybe to increase the amount of emulsifying agents. And also very important is to select the most optimum alkandiol in order to ensure good stability and efficacy. Now here's an example of an anionic oil and water cream emulsion that we prepared in our application labs. The example that you see on the left is a well-known combination used as a preservative for emulsions, amongst others, but especially in emulsion, it's widely used. And here we see in the challenge test, it only gets a B criteria. However, if you look on the right-hand side, you see a combination of two alkandiols, Symdiol 68, together with a bit of an organic acid, and it passes the challenge test. So this is one of the examples how to use multifunctional ingredients in emulsions. Here's another one. Again, on the left, you see the same preservative benchmark. On the right, you see a combination of Hydrolex E, which is 100% ethylhexylglycerine, dosed at 0.1%, in a combination with SimSafe H, and it passes the challenge test. This is one of my favorites, actually, in this anionic emulsion, oil and water emulsion, using 0.5% of an antioxidant, which is the SimSafe H, plus a combination of two alkandiols, the Symdiol 68, also at 0.5%, and it passes the challenge test using these kind of dosages. This is just examples, and maybe in your individual formulation, you need slightly higher or slightly lower concentrations of these multifunctionals. Here's an example, also a reduced amount of 0.25% of the SimSafe H, but then boosted by hydrolyte 7 green, which is the C7 chain length alkandiol, but also dosed at 0.25%. So this is also a relatively low-cost alternative to replace preservatives using only multifunctional ingredients. Last but not least, this is an example using the hydrolyte 7 green, hydrolyte 8 green, plus some sodium benzoate in this case. Then we also get criteria A, and this is even Cosmos and Nature approved. We're using ingredients which are accepted by these certificates. Now let's have a look into rinse-off formulations. For rinse-off, how do multifunctionals perform? Here you see on the left-hand side, this is, for example, hydrolyte CG at higher percentage in an anionic emulsion, where it performs quite well. It's not, let's say, completely protecting the formula satisfying, but on the other hand, it provides good protection. However, if I'm using the same alkandiol at the same percentage in a shampoo, you see on the right-hand side, it fails. So the test has been stopped because there's too much contamination. It already failed in the challenge test. So what is the actual difference? We know that these alkandiols, they work well in emulsions. What about rinse-off? What can happen is that especially the longer chain length alkandiols, they can lose efficacy due to the formation of micelles in the surfactant-based formulation. This can happen also with shorter chain length alkandiols, but there it's less likely and it's more or less dose depending. And this leads to this unsatisfactory challenge test result. So when we get these kind of results with the alkandiols on its own, we would recommend to make combinations with other ingredients, other multifunctionals that are also having antimicrobial efficacy, and there perfectly works well the SimSafe H. Using a combination of the hydrolyte CG at a reduced concentration plus SimSafe H at a reasonable concentration is breaking the micelles, and then we get a much better challenge test results. This can be optimized, of course, but there's more potential to change percentages, but clearly making alkandiols more efficient in surfactant systems, we recommend to use combinations with antioxidants like SimSafe H. Nowadays also we have SafeLite HB that seems to work very well also in rinse-off. Now here's an example, it's the same project from the phenoxyethanol-free solutions that we analyzed, and we see the this well-known blend, phenoxyethanol plus ethylhexylglycerine. It fails in the challenge test when testing surfactants. We know there is weaknesses for sure. And here we have a combination. The Simtriol is a combination of two alkandiols plus an alcohol, and combined with a bit of organic acid, it passes a challenge test, and we get criteria A in a shampoo. It's a basic shampoo formulation that we tested here, that we formulated ourselves in our labs. Let's have a quick look into sun care formulations. So sun care formulations are known to be a little bit more challenging in terms of product protection. Looking on the left, you see one of the examples that I was showing before using the antioxidant SimSafe H, Simdio 68, the blend of two alkandiols in an oil and water anionic emulsion using 0.5% of each. It passes easily the challenge test. We get criteria A. However, using the same combination in an SPF 50 plus is leading still to an A criteria, but you can see there's more growth during the test. So it means the protection, the efficacy is slightly less. Why? Why is it difficult to preserve sun care formulations? So we know that it matters also about the lipophilic phase. Normally we have a much higher load of lipophilic materials in sunscreen formulations compared to standard emulsions. So also then it can happen that lipophilic materials, they just go into the oil phase and they are not present in the water phase where microorganisms are multiplying. Then also we have the risk of the UV filters, that some of them may absorb the ingredients, preservatives especially, on their surfaces. And this leads also to a reduction of antimicrobial efficacy. Then there can be chemical reactions. Some of the UV filters chemically interact with some preservatives. The alkan diols, normally they do not interact with UV filters, and we know how to stabilize them into the water phase. So here's examples in a sunscreen SPF 50+ formulation that we developed in our labs. Again, comparing with the phenoxyethanol ethylhexylglycerine blend that you see on the left, it fails in the challenge test. So this is insufficient to protect SPF 50+ on its own, at least in this case, in this formulation. And now on the right-hand side, you see a combination of SimSafe H, so an antioxidant, plus 2 of the alkan diols, the hydrolyte 6 and the hydrolyte 5 green. And this combination has performed very well in several applications, in several UV, in several sun care lotions. We have used this combination. So it passes with criteria A. Here we have on the right-hand side another combination that is possible. It's another option. If you want to use Hydrolex E, this is the ethylhexylglycerine. The SimSafe H is hydroxyacetophenone, and hydrolyte 5 green is the pentylene glycol. And this combination also gets criteria A when testing this in a sunscreen formulation. Another option here is with hydrolyte 8 green. So if you prefer a longer chain length alkan diol, yeah, there's another option to protect the formula. Now let's have a quick look into synergies of diols. I was showing to you that there is a combination of in the SimDiol 68 is a combination of 2 alkan diols, and there are several reasons why we do this, why there are benefits. First of all, when you look into MIC values, and here you have the organisms which are normally tested in a challenge test. So we have gram-positive, gram-negative bacteria, yeast, and mold. And then you see, first of all, the hexane diol on its own, octane diol on its own. And there you have already quite low MIC values. That means they are antimicrobial. However, looking into the MIC values of the combination, we see that the MIC values are even lower. And that means that there's a synergy. We see that the combination, the combined approach of using both, means that there's an even better efficacy, antimicrobial efficacy. So that's one of the reasons. Secondly, we have, let's say, a clear limitation of caprylyl glycol, the octane diol, when it comes to the water solubility. So stabilizing this ingredient into the water phase can be a little bit more challenging. However, while we are using a combination of hexane diol, which has a much better water solubility, including the octane diol into this blend, and then dosing this into the water phase before emulsification, when formulating an emulsion, that means we can stabilize the octane diol as well in the water phase, and we prevent that this ingredient, which is rather lipophilic, to migrate into the oil phase. So it's helping to stabilize the octane diol, the longer chain length alkan diol, in the water phase. Another benefit is also practically that the octane diol has a melting point alone around 30 centigrades. So that makes it a bit difficult. This is a waxy, a high viscous substance at this point, almost solid, and it makes it difficult to dose it. The combination of SimDiol 68 is liquid. It's a liquid that you can easily dose into your formulation. So this is why we have also these kind of synergistic blends in the portfolio. Now, quickly looking into another application where we have high levels of water, we have a lot of nutrients, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to the protection. Here you just see for wet wipes, I'm talking about the wet wipes, the microbiological risk. There's a lot of risk when it comes to these kind of wipes. depending on qualities, depending on the storage, also depending on the non-woven material itself, the quality and storage. There is very different and sometimes very high demand on protecting these kind of products. This is let's say, a recommended choice of solutions that we have tested in a lot of types of wipes, like baby wipes, facial wipes, toilet wipes, or for deo wipes, other hygienic wipes. And here you see a selection of multifunctional ingredients, combinations that you see on the left, and they all have passed the challenge test according to criteria of ISO 11930. So they all got an A criteria in the challenge test. Whenever you have a challenge on formulating wet wipes solutions, wet wipe products, here is a choice of potential ingredients, combinations that can protect such wipes. Just to let you know, it's not only the juice, we have always tested the ready-made wipes. If you also have specific question on this applications, please reach out. Here's some examples of challenge test results in wipes. So this is for baby wipes. We have tested, there's one preservative. So here we use the Symrise pH based on phenoxyethanol. This protects the wipe formulation, but also we can use multifunctional ingredients like SimSafe-H, an antioxidant, and the emollient, the ethylhexylglycerine, Hydrolex E, that protects also the same formulation, getting criteria A. Here on the left, you see alkandiols used together with SimSafe-H in wet wipes. And here also we have ethylhexylglycerine with a little bit of alkandiols and an alcohol protecting also the wipes. Hydrolyte 7 green plus SimGuard CD. The SimGuard CD is a combination of 3 different alcohols, including orthosiminol. This is a listed preservative according to Annex 5 of the European regulation. It's used quite often as, let's say, a standard or preservative, just to show that we are using preservatives so that the product is protected. Quite often the Simosite C is used, and we also use this a lot during COVID for additional hygienic claims in the formulations. And here's another one, the SimSafe-H plus Hydrolyte 7 green. So 2 multifunctional ingredients that passes a challenge test for wet wipes. So these were a few application examples. Now I like to share with you documents that we have ready for you. Tips and tricks are the documents. I like to say it's made by the labs for the labs. So here we included all our knowledge, all our experiences with multifunctional ingredients in order to make your life easier when formulating with these multifunctional ingredients. You see informations about the products, some infos about stabilities, and then how to process materials. In this case, the SimSafe-H is a solid material. It needs to be pre-dissolved. And here we explain that with the addition of a bit of shear rate and higher temperatures, you can easily stabilize and solubilize and stabilize this in the water phase. You also get some information about the solubility and compatibility. So this was an example, and I think this is also very useful information. You can always reach out to us, and please use your contacts at Safic to ask for these kind of documents, which are really useful. Now I have also some examples of formulations ready for you just to share. In this case, it's a greenification kit. It's just showing that following our strategy to become more green, to turn synthetic materials into green materials, we have used our green portfolio in order to formulate some examples. The first one here is the Hydrolyte 5 green. So it's the pentylene glycol. And we developed an after sun spray using Hydrolyte 5 green. Here in the water phase, together with the SimSafe-H for the protection of this formula. However, the Hydrolyte 5 green is acting as a solubilizer, but also it brings moisturization because it's an after sun spray. And together with the SimSafe-H, it can protect the formula. And here we pass the challenge test with this combination. This is also dedicated to the natural origin content, and you always see from these formulas a relatively high content, high level of natural ingredients. The next one I'm showing is Hydrolyte 6 green. Here we developed an eyelash serum. This serum is protected. Here you see SimSafe H for product protection. Plus, we also use Hydrolyte 6 in this case. And what we also use is we use a bit of the sodium gluconate. Such complexing agent can contribute, they can act as boosting agents to protect such formulations. I will talk about some boosting efficacies by complexing agents in the next session, so in the third session. Hydrolyte 7 green, we introduced this ingredient some years ago. So Hydrolyte 7 green fits perfectly also into this face serum. Here we use sodium benzoate and we use 2 alkandiols to protect the formula. Sodium benzoate is an organic acid. It's effective as a preservative, but then we use Hydrolyte 7 green. And the Hydrolyte 5 green is especially used here also for solubilization, but also for moisturization, since this is a face application. For Hydrolyte 8 green, here we developed, it's a solid powder. It's a solid shampoo. It was like some time ago, there was a trend for solid products. So here we developed a solid shampoo. It contains Hydrolyte 8 green and SimSafe H for the protection of the formula itself. It also contains on our Crinipan PMC green. This is propandiol caprylate, and this is an anti-dandruff ingredient ready to prevent from dandruff, and it can replace traditional ingredients also used for dandruff as an alternative. Now here's an example using Simdiol 68, the 68 green in this case. We use this together with Hydrolyte 5 green in this face mask. The Hydrolyte 5 green is also used for moisturization in this case and solubilization. And to provide broad spectrum efficacy, we use sodium benzoate to combine the Simdiol 68 for sufficient protection of the formula. So coming more or less to the end of my presentation this morning, here I just like to remind that you find all informations about the products and formulation examples that I was partly showing to you in our dedicated database called SimSelect. So this is the portal for all the products and formulations. You can easily subscribe with your email address. It's free of charge, and you get all these kind of informations from Symrise or about the Symrise portfolios. Especially also Hogo that is included into SimSelect. Hogo is the database. If you click on Hogo, you end up on this page. And this is a full database. It's equipped with all the challenge test results that we have developed, that we have generated over the past decade. So we are collecting here all our knowledge about solutions for sufficient protection of cosmetic formulations. And you can pre-select if you want to include or exclude certain ingredients like phenoxyethanol. You can also select certain ingredients from our portfolio. You can select pH and so on. So there's a lot of options, and it's hardly recommended to look into this database using SimSelect and then looking into this database for solutions. Now here, I'm just showing you our services, our support. First of all, we have formulation labs all over the EME region. We are connected. We are doing formulations together with our customers. We help problem solving when it comes to stabilities of formulas. And what is also new since more than a year, we're doing challenge tests now ourselves in our dedicated micro lab here in Clichy in Paris for the EME, for the European region. So reach out if you have any interest on challenge tests. We do educational supports like these kind of workshops, but then also we have SimSelect and Hogo databases ready for you. And last but not least, if you're interested on selected topics around the theme of protection, preservation, please have a look into our microprotection masterclasses. And I'd just like to share with you, also like in the first session now, a quick introductional video just showing what kind of information can be obtained from these short videos. So the videos, I think it's 7 videos that you find on YouTube. And there we explain about how to use multifunctionals, what is the benefit, regulatory behind, and so on and so on. So there's lots of information. And I'm starting this video quickly only for the introduction of the sessions.
Hi, I'm Valentin Kuraskani.
Hi, I'm Marie Bourget.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Mizel.
Hi, I am Maria Teresa Fontañanes.
And we're here to tell you more about the secret heroes of personal care.
You surely know about the bright shiny ingredients that are kept on the packaging, and they do deserve their fame.
But they will be lost without the discreet and faithful heroes that are product protection ingredients.
In this series of masterclasses, we will shine a light on those deserving secret heroes. Are you sure you know everything there is to know about product protection? Do you use the same preservative solution time and time again, or are you looking for a modern approach?
With us, you learn how to better formulate personal care products, choose the right solution for your specific needs, and quickly become a master of the subject.
See you soon for the very first season of our series of masterclasses, The Secret Heroes of Personal Care.
So I hope this was a little bit of an appetizer for the masterclasses. So please have a look on YouTube on this channel. And yeah, this is the end of my presentation. I hope this was interesting for you again after the first session, with some more formulation details, with some more informations how to use multifunctional ingredients. And I'm open to ask any questions if you have some. Thank you.
Thank you, Berna, for your interesting presentation. We received some questions. The first one is, beside the combination of Symdiol 68, can we expect more synergies with the other diols?
That's a good question. Thank you. Yes. So as I have shown, the Symdiol 68 is in particularly providing synergies, but it benefits because there's limited water solubility, for example, of the octan diol. Of course, you can also combine other diols, let's say like pentylene glycol together with hexane diol. You can also combine the Symdiol 68. We can also combine the C7 chain length alkan diol, the heptane diol with octan diol. There will be certainly as well synergies. We don't offer this as a ready-to-be-used ingredient, but we can expect definitely more synergies by using the other diols.
And Bernd, we do have another one. Are the tips and tricks documents available for each product of the microprotection portfolio?
Thanks. Yes, fortunately, yes. So we have developed these documents as they are really appreciated by the labs, by our customers, as a formulation support. They are available for each ingredient. So all the multifunctionals that I listed, but also for the preservatives, but especially for the multifunctionals, they are all available. So reach out if you need any of these documents. We know that in the past, when using, let's say, traditional preservatives like parabens or even isothiazolinones, they have been used as a post-additive. They have been added at the very end, mostly of emulsification processes and so on. Nowadays, with the multifunctional, we need to use them straight at the beginning. So always recommended to add multifunctional ingredients, especially the SimSafe H, for example, but also the alkan diols at the beginning into the water phase. And there you just need to understand how to use them. And this is provided by the tips and tricks documents.
Okay, the last question is, apart from the green multifunctional kits, are there more formulation examples available?
Yes. The green multifunctional kit that I was showing was just dedicated to the greenification of our portfolio. However, for events, but following trends, we develop constantly such kind of concepts, and these concepts then are let's say ready to be used formulations. So you find them also on SimSelect. But whenever there is an exhibition, for example, we have In Cosmetics coming up, please reach out to the Symrise booth. We have some new formulation kits ready for you there.
Perfect, thank you Bern. Ok, per la sessione di oggi abbiamo terminato. Invito tutti i partecipanti a iscriversi anche alla terza sessione dei webinar, che sarà un po' più pratica e dedicata alle piattaforme di SimSelect e Ogo per aiutarvi nella scelta del sistema conservante più adatto alle vostre esigenze. Ricordo, come già detto all'inizio, che durante la giornata di domani vi verrà inviata una email di follow-up con la registrazione di oggi e la presentazione mostrata. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie.
Grazie a tutti, buona giornata.
Buona giornata.
Grazie Bern, grazie Alessandro.